What's going on YouTube? So today I am gonna show you how I rebuilt the cylinder heads for the Danger Ranger project, and I'm gonna go step by step. It's not gonna be an exact thing, but at least you'll see the basic idea of changing the valve seals on the cylinder heads, cleaning them up and painting them. But I wanted to show you that so you guys can see what's going on, and thanks for watching Overland Garage. Alright guys, so today we're going to be cleaning up some heads, and just wanted to show you before you start cleaning anything up, make sure you lay some of this lint free. These are just those blue shop rags, but yeah, I wanted to take a minute and show you what we're working with. So this is passenger side head, not too bad. So doesn't look like it's got anything out of the obvious. I mean, I looked at all these springs. You want to do that before you do anything. Make sure that none of them are broken, or if they're real loose, you should replace them because they have a duration just like anything. So when they're fully compressed and when they're fully released, they have a constant duration. Actually, it changes throughout the entire movement of that spring. So we want to take a look at all the springs, make sure those are all good. I'm going to take them apart and replace all the valve seals so that I don't have any blow-by when I put this all back together. But yeah, so I'm going to be rebuilding the motor that's in the truck, and these are the GT40P heads, which you can tell that because the GT40P has 4 bars on the end of the head. And I don't know if you can see it, but inside, yeah, it's cast right there too. So there's a casting GT40P, and these are a cast iron head. They have better airflow, so I have the E7 heads on it, and I'm gonna put these back on it because these are just a much better head. But so I'm gonna show you some cleanup of these heads, and that'll be step number 1. While I'm waiting for the parts in the mail to rebuild the other half of the engine, I'm gonna clean up these heads, clean up the intake manifold, and etc, etc. So stay tuned. Also, a good thing to look at while you're rebuilding these is take a look at every single one of these. These are called the valve seats right here, and a lot of people send these heads out and have them reground and redone, but if you can see what I'm looking at, these look like they're in really good shape. I think these heads have honestly been redone before, so I'm just gonna clean this whole surface up, clean the whole head up, put the valves back in, put the springs back in, and yeah, so it's gonna be. You're probably wondering why I'm going through all this and being fussy with this stuff, and the reason for that is if you put this engine together and you don't take the time to do this little stuff, do the valve seals, check the springs, check the valves, and clean them up. You're gonna put this thing back together and you're gonna be like, man, I should have just done my homework, bought the parts, and put it together while it was apart. I mean, they come right in the box with the kit to put it back together. So if it's there and it looks like it might be something that you should do, just do it. I mean, save yourself the $10 and the 5 hours it takes to take it back apart. Just do it. So that's why I'm spending the time and cleaning these heads up and cleaning those valves up and putting it back together, because I personally, I don't know about you, but I don't want to take it apart again for a while. So anyway, something to think about. Now the first thing you want to do when you get one of these kits, the head gasket set, you buy these from Napa anywhere, is you go right in there and you see these quart gaskets right here, and you just throw them right in the trash, because those are absolute garbage and we're not going to use them. Spend the money. And oh, and I don't need this because this is for fuel injected. I don't have one of those. But here's what we're going to try to change if these are even close to right. And that's the intake and exhaust. And yeah, so this is a head set and intake manifold set. And these gaskets are pretty good, but like I said, those quart gaskets, those are garbage. Throw those away and spend the money and buy the good ones. Now basically all we got to do here, I don't know if they'll come right off for you, but you can just grab a hold of them with a pair of pliers. Sometimes they come right out. You don't have to fight with them too bad. You get a hold of them right in there. Get out of there. So you just do that with all of them. You're in business. Get out of there. You're asking, why am I using a pair of dikes? Because it was sitting on the bench, and I'm personally too lazy to go back out to the garage and grab the right tool. So whenever you get to that point, you just use the wrong tool. That's usually good. Now, when I said before that these seals were different, that was wrong. They're all the same. So luckily, in this case, Ford did the right thing and made sure all of these valve seals are the same, so that it makes this process really mint. It's not a bad idea when you're doing something like this to get a bunch of this brake clean and clean everything up real good, because you don't know when you're taking something apart if something dropped down in there. You know, I'm cleaning these up with brake clean because years ago I was working on my 89 and I had the bright idea that I was going to sandblast the valve covers and put some fresh paint on it, which normally that's okay. You can do that. You can sandblast them and put fresh paint on them, make them look all nice and shiny. I had this thing immaculate. They were all nice and shiny, had some, so I even went out and bought the expensive anodized red paint that was heat rated even. And I was driving it the next day and drove it the next day after that. Went to work. Got done with one of my, at the time I was doing some lawn care, and I get done with it and I hop in the truck and I start hauling down the road. All of a sudden, it's like all heck broke loose. There's a blue cloud of smoke a mile behind me. And yeah, what had happened was those valve covers have a baffle inside of them, and that fine grit had gotten wedged right between those two plates, and then it was, as the oil was hitting it, was washing itself. And it was filling every single oil galley in that motor full of oil. It had plenty of oil pressure after that. It had so much oil pressure I couldn't keep an oil filter on it. So I completely destroyed a motor because I didn't take the time to clean up something. So just when you think that you haven't cleaned something up, go over it again and clean it up again and save yourself like $1,000, $2,000 in motor work because you decided you wanted to have shiny valve covers and didn't clean them up. So here's a tech tip of the day. That looks like too much, but I'm just not a big fan of dirt anymore. I like things clean. Another thing I did today while I was out and about shopping doing my thing is I went and got some new freeze plugs because, like I said before, if you're in there, you might as well do it. And I found that you're just better off to do it right the first time than spend all this time screwing around doing things the wrong way and paying for it. So I think that looks pretty good for those. But before I get too carried away, I'm going to completely clean this whole cylinder head, take all the paint off, flip it over, clean the other side, then I'll spray it all back down again, clean it up, then I'll put the valves back in it. So I'm going to get going on that and you can keep watching. Basically what I've done is cleaned it up as best as I could. Now I'm just spraying it again and cleaning this surface off, and then we're gonna finish cleaning it up once my air compressor catches up. And we'll just about be ready for paint. I want to paint these first just because you don't want to paint this thing near a valve spring and have paint all over the insides of the motor. So try to do the best you can doing a good cleanup while these things are all the way apart so that you can paint them and just assemble it and it's not a big hassle. So this is one head. It's a lot of work if you hadn't already noticed. It's a good idea when you're getting ready to paint, tape off anything that you can tape off. You don't want painted because, well, just as simple as I said it. I don't want paint in there. So, take this off real quick. Also going to tape off the intake port. I'm not going to tape off the exhaust because it's not going to matter if you get it all paint in there. It's going to burn off anyways, so you just want to tape off what you really don't want paint in. So, well, you guessed it, time for cylinder head number 2, so fresh start. Now something to kind of get your mind bottled around if you're thinking about it, but you want to know which one's intake and which one's exhaust. Well, that's pretty simple because if you line it up, the exhaust port is usually right in line with the valve. So if you stick your finger in there, this is the exhaust side, this is the intake side. You can stick your finger, you can't really feel it. This one's the intake, air's going in, but you can stick your finger in this one on the exhaust side, you can actually feel the valve. So you know that this one is exhaust and this one is intake. So little tip for you, you can't always tell the difference between the intake and the exhaust because whichever one the exhaust side is in, you can always stick your finger in and you can feel the exhaust. Good idea to always stick your hand over the valve on the back side. That way when those keepers come flying out at Mach 10, at least you'll catch them. Notice I'm using a plastic hammer for this because you don't want to use a metal hammer if you can help it, so you don't damage these things. So that was exhaust, right? Exhaust. Next one would be intake. Now I had to heat these up. The last ones I did. They don't always like to come apart. You don't want to go too crazy with this, just enough. Now if you heard that, that was that thing flying around at 50 miles an hour, so it's always a good idea to keep an eye on where it went. So I'm gonna go look for that now. Remember that whole thing about paying attention to where your things go and holding your hand over that? Well, yeah, I didn't follow my own advice. I had to go look for that little keeper for about 10 minutes, so that was fun. But yeah, let's keep going. It's also a good idea while you're taking them apart to inspect the valves, make sure that they're not damaged or anything. Not that you can really see a whole lot, but you might pick up on something. One, keeper two, keeper three, keeper four. What are you doing, you little camera? Are you? You're not even following me anymore. Like, get over there. Over here. There we go. Don't blame that on me now. I told the camera to stay. Fire! Tell me how it's supposed to be. Heat squared. Fire! You little devil. That's what I thought. Hey, those are hot, by the way. Yeah. Owie! Really, really heavy. That valve doesn't look very good. Look at this one. Oh, crusty. Oh, yep, didn't need it. I can see I'm gonna have to buy a new one of these tools, but I do the next job like this. I've pretty much destroyed this one. Oh, yeah, there it goes again. I see it. I see it. Gotta get moving. I'm running out of time on this project. I mean, truck's been apart a while. I've really gotta get going. Warp speed. I don't know if this does anything or not, but it makes me feel better. And that's important, so yeah, why not? Sometimes you just need to give it a good smack and it comes apart. Which in reality, that's probably all I really needed to do anyways. See, that valve's got some wear inside of here, which is a little interesting to see. I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna do the right thing and just ignore it. See what this does. Maybe not. Maybe? No. That was useless. What am I doing? Who knows? Does anybody really know, or are they just like me and just guess? Oh, yep. This is why we label it. Getting sloppy. Last one. Is this gonna be the one? It's gonna fight me? I'm going with most, definitely. Should I just go for it? Like, no heat, just give her the old. Hiya! Nope. Nope. Not liking that. I guess we'll go back to the heat. What's going on here? Go back to burning my fingers because this is my favorite. If you're not burning your fingers, you're not doing it right. wicked hot. Alright. Gonna clean this head up. Do the same thing I did with the other one. Change all these valve seals. Clean all this paint and crap off. Clean this up with brake clean. And yeah. So as you can probably imagine, and you're probably thinking it already, that this isn't exactly a 5-minute job. Now you can do it in a night or a few hours, but if you were in an emergency, you can do this in the truck. Use an air hose attachment for a spark plug hole, and the reason you want to do that is because you want to put pressure in the cylinder, because if you don't, and you take this spring off and there's no pressure in that cylinder, that valve's going to drop into the engine if this is assembled, and then you're not going to be very happy with yourself, and probably going to say some colorful words, but it's my personal favorite to take it out of the truck and do it right on the bench where you can see everything, clean everything up, and work on it easily. And so I'm going to clean this one up, paint it just like the other one, and then I'll put it all back together and you'll get to see that. So I put this little concoction together. This is a little bit of WD-40, a little bit of transmission fluid, and the reason I put this together is I'm just going to spray each one of these so that I can just slide the valve seals right on. Now, you don't want to put a ton on this because you don't want these valve seals to be just sliding off, and also you don't want this to be something that's going to allow oil by it, so you don't want to create a way that this thing won't seal. So we're just going to put a little bit on so that these things go on easy. That's all you need, just a little squirt. And it also helps lubricate all this stuff too, so it doesn't hurt. Then these things should slide right on. And if they don't, try not to force them. But you should be able just to push them on. They sell this little tool, they have this little tool that comes with them, but we don't need those. The reason you don't want to pound them on is they have a little spring inside of these, and if you're not careful, you'll just bust those all to pieces. So you get the basic idea. I'm gonna start putting the springs back on and the valves back in, and I'll show you that. So what I've been doing for the last few minutes is I've been cleaning every single one of these up. This had a lot of carbon on it, and I took all the carbon off and cleaned the face of them up. Now, a lot of people will have these things machined, but since this one was sealing good, I'm just cleaning them up and I'm gonna put them all back in. So right now I'm just gonna put them all back in, and then I'll show you how to put the springs on. Now for putting them back in, I like to use a little different process. So this is the other tool I was talking about. This is that spring compressor tool. But I like to hold on to it and compress the spring by hand like this with this tool, so that I can literally just drop this thing into place and put the keepers in, and I don't have to mess around with putting a bolt in and all that stuff. But you gotta be careful because this thing likes to spring off if you're not careful, but you can literally just set this thing in and drop the keeper in. It's two little keepers. If you do this right, it should be pretty simple. One, and you might have to tighten it up a little more. Yep, that's both of them, and then you can just undo it. You can just loosen it up. There it is. There's one valve. So I'll show you one more time with the the intake valve rather. So I'm gonna loosen this thing all the way up. Make sure you don't lose all the pieces to your spring. Be a good start. And this just compresses everything. And then you also want to see, this thing has a long end and a short end. You want to get this long end closest to the bottom of the spring, and pretty much so this thing is tight before you really start tightening it. That way you have room to tighten it all the way. You want to make sure you can also get this thing in there too. So before you go crazy and get this thing all cattywampus, make sure you can get this thing in. And get this thing tight again and crank away. Make sure you're holding on to both ends, like I said before, the other video, because, well, the beginning of this series, because you don't want this thing coming out of here at Mach 50 and smacking you in the face. So it's a good idea to pay attention to what's going on with this. Hold on to these the whole time. And sometimes if you're not careful like I am just now, you can push the valve down inside, so pay attention to that. And then you can just drop the keepers in. In theory, they just drop in. Kind of have to wiggle them around sometimes. They don't always go in that easy. But sometimes you might have to rotate the head up. Push that valve back through. Sometimes that valve likes to drop down, but should. There it is. That's number 2. So I'm going to do the rest of these. You get the idea. So springs are going on, and then once all these springs are on and the keepers are all in them and everything, the heads are ready to go back on the truck. So I'll be putting the rocker arms on and the push rods in, and these heads, the next step you will see with these is these heads getting bolted on the truck, so on the motor I should say. So I will show you the finished product with all the springs on it, and then the next video segment you'll see with these getting bolted on the motor. So thank you for watching. I'm just gonna give you a little sneak peek here, but these are all done, and just for kicks and giggles I'm gonna throw the valve cover on just so you can see what it looks like. I think this is the right side, but she's gonna be pretty. But yeah, that's what it's gonna be looking like. That shiny blue paint. So I'm gonna do the other head, and I think I'm gonna call it a night on this project, but next time you see me I'll be throwing these on the truck. So thanks for watching. So I just wanted to say that if you're doing something like this, it's going to take a little bit of time, so allow yourself plenty of time to make sure that you do the job right. I know I've emphasized that a couple of times, but it's really easy when you're doing cylinder heads and to get lost and lose track of what you did with parts, and that's why it's really important that you label everything and that take it apart one at a time, so that and do it in steps. So take a cylinder apart, or intake and then exhaust, intake then exhaust, do a pattern and steps. That way you can just keep track in your mind, so if you do happen to forget and go, I don't know what I was doing, well, you can look at what you have in front of you and go, okay, so I'm on that one. And then also the other thing we learned is we want to do the job right, we want to do it in steps, we want to write everything down, and number 3, you want to buy good stuff. And I know sometimes you're thinking like, alright, so it makes sense to spend $10 as opposed to $20 on this part. Well, if you think about it, how long are you going to be using the vehicle, and do you really want to take that apart in 5,000 miles because it's leaking oil everywhere? I don't. And so I'll spend the extra $10 on the better gaskets because I know that I can take the vehicle apart multiple times and keep reusing the gaskets, and I'm going to get my money's worth. And most of the time that stuff's got a lifetime warranty, so it just makes sense to use better stuff. And also one other thing that I was just thinking about now is when you tighten everything back down, make sure you look up the recommended torque specs on this stuff, because valve covers are like 10 foot-pounds, I think, or I think it might be even inch-pounds. But look in your owner's manual of the motor that you're building, so that would be a builder's manual, and just take a look and see, you know, what the specs are. Make sure you go by the book. I mean, the engineers did their homework, they know what they're talking about, and when you're building something like this, it just makes sense to go by those specs. Don't go to the old good and tight, but you know, some stuff is got a little bit of give, but stuff with heads, you got to be real particular with that stuff. So next step you'll see me is I'll be putting these heads back on the motor and putting the intake manifold on, dropping the distributor in it, and we'll be timing it, putting the motor back in the truck. So you're going to want to see that, and I'm excited to have the truck back. It's been a long time since I've been able to drive it, and I'm excited to see the power increase with the roller cam that's in this new motor, and it's a little higher compression, so I thought it'd be interesting to see. So thanks for watching, and this is Overland Garage, and please like and subscribe. I mean, help a guy out once in a while. I'm very impressed with the content that has been put out, and I mean, I thought it was terrible, to be honest with you, but you guys keep liking it and helping me out and supporting me, so keep doing what you're doing, and spread the word on Overland Garage, and let's get out there and explore. So I'm very excited to get this truck back, but thanks for watching. So I hope this video has been a help to you, and if you like this content and you want to continue to see more of it, don't be afraid to hit that button down there and throw some comments in there to help a guy out, and get off that couch and get out there in the wilderness and explore. Thanks for watching Overland Garage.